Hey, it's Gummo from Old World Fanatics. We know it's release week and we know we're getting the new Arcane Journal, Settra's Fury, with a couple of models, actually probably more than a couple. But we've just seen some leaks pop up on Facebook, which also might hint at bigger things to come. Let's find out.
Old World Rankings. Ranking players worldwide. Find upcoming tournaments. View latest results. Search thousands of army lists. Global faction statistics. Old World Rankings. Free to join today.
Right, so obviously it's not news anymore, but I thought I might just throw up a quick video about it with a few of my personal thoughts, given that I do play Tomb Kings and probably my first main army in Old World, although I moved off them a little bit lately. Yeah, I've brought this up before. Love the artwork. I think this is probably the Arcane Journal I'm most excited about, purely because I want to see what the hell they're going to do with Arcane Journals that aren't focused on one army, even though this does appear to be Tomb Kings. Everyone knows right now. You would, if you don't, then read this. There's obviously two armies of infamy in here, which is Renegade Crowns for the Empire of Man and the Slayer Host for the Dwarven Mountain Hold. So technically, it's actually a force of order, whatever the good guys are, more so than even the force of destruction, really. But so there's no new Tomb Kings of Khemri armies of infamy. So we're still going to have Mortuary Cult and the Royal Host, but obviously we're getting a few more little things to go along with it. Which is incantations for the Mortuary Cult, which I guess we don't know what that is, but I'd assume it's, given that we've already got prayer spells and stuff, I'd assume it might be maybe sort of like prayers, which would be kind of interesting. Although the more those sort of prayer type based, you know, and the my will be done type things and arise, those type of mechanics where you just take a leadership test. It's very rollable these days with the Herald. It's not very interactive. There's not much you can do about it. So I'm sort of not sure 100% what I think of that, if it is prayers. If it's a cool new set of signature spells for Mortuary Cult, I think that would be more interesting because it gives you some flavor, but also allows the opposition to actually do something about it, which probably is a fairer thing to do, but I guess we'll see. The other thing, though, what I want to have to think about is what the hell does monstrous mounts mean in this context? Because we know that Tomb Kings can go on the dragon, and they can also go on this guy, the War Sphinx. You never see this guy, the War Sphinx, purely because I think he's like 175 points. I mean, compare that versus the 170 point souped up balloon for Cathay. Which one are you going to take? But yeah, but realistically, internally, this guy versus the Necrosphinx, given that Necrosphinx 195, whatever it is, and he flies and Swift Stride and all that sort of stuff. See, this guy might have Swift Stride, but I can't remember. But it will be interesting if they do some things where they lower the restrictions a bit. So, for example, at the moment, you can only do Tomb Kings on this guy. If you can do a Tomb Prince, does that become more viable? Potentially, especially because in this book, oh, I just blew my lead there, sorry. In this book, it talks about rules for 500 to 750 games as well, which would be interesting, which you would have just seen the leak that I just put up there, which I might talk about in a minute. But anyway, I was thinking about, yeah, obviously, and if it's Mortuary Cult, they don't have the Tomb Kings, so are we going to see High Priest on these guys, even though this kit doesn't come with that as an option. So, you know, a little bit weird. I mean, the dragon does come with an extra guy, so you could actually put like the Tomb King on the dragon and then use that guy and put him over here. You know, obviously you can kit bash stuff. I really hope they, you know, it does say monstrous mounts, so that's, you know, something to think about, that we might see more of these guys. Having said that, what I probably would prefer is that these guys come into play. So this is one of my units that I would put down as, unfortunately, given the rules for Monstrous Cav and stuff in Old World, you just don't see them, even though I did. I had lost a giant Chaos Spawn of Nurgle with my Beastman to 4 of these guys. So they're not that they're bad. They're just, they're only unit strength 3. You can kill them, stuff like that. Now, if you could put Tomb Princes and Tomb Kings and maybe even more Trick Cult people on these guys, does that open up some play? A little bit more oomph with My Will Be Done. Imagine if you also Royal Herald. So if you could put Royal Herald, Tomb Kings in this unit of stalkers, ambush them, stuff like that. I think I think people would play around with that list. I think there'd be some power there with different options, different magic items that you generally don't see. And Tomb Kings don't have a lot of that speed, so these guys would help a little bit. Plus just modeling opportunities. I mean, they're cool looking models. They're cool Tomb King. They're so dynamic for their era. And unfortunately, you just don't see them. So I'm hoping more so that we see things like this as being the monstrous mounts, and actually in a way that makes them usable. So who knows? That's my wish list there. But obviously on top of that, yeah, like you get this, they're bringing out those other 2 armies of infamy, and we're also getting, which we knew, great looking new models. And this is sort of where I want to start the hint of things to come, not only for Tomb Kings and remodeling the entire range to be more properly skeletal and not big, fat, derpy, old school skeletons. But yeah, these guys, given that they're plastic as well, you can combine that potentially with the War Sphinx. If you can mount one of these guys on there, I think you could definitely kit bash some stuff in there. But they are great looking for undead models, which I think undead horses are very hard to do well. There's a couple of 3D print guys out there that do it, but outside of that, they always look a little thick, a little static. But the way they've really dressed it up with some of the rags and stuff that you would expect to see. So I think this is much more, this is a great looking kit. And then obviously the Royal Heralds as well coming in. And we're seeing a more mounted, armored mount, which again, we don't have in Tomb Kings. So could this be hinting at monstrous mounts? I don't know. Monstrous horses aren't monsters, so I'm not sure if that's what it's really hinting at. But the big thing I wanted to talk about briefly, and this is just a quick video, which obviously we'll find out more once this book drops, is the Facebook leaks today that popped up with a new Tomb Kings of Khemri Battalion box with the War Sphinx in there, which is a dual kit, so, can be a Necrosphinx, people. This little Tomb King guy is on that. He's part of that kit there. You've got 20 Tomb Guard, which are obviously outside of Graveguard are quite good in this new 1.5 meta. And then a bunch of skellies. How much is that? Does that even look like 2 ranks there? No. Let me zoom in. Oh, yes, it is. Well, it's not fully 2 ranks. Or is it? Yes, it is. God, that looks weird. Just the way the camera's taken. Okay, so there is 20. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 9? Or did I miscount? What is that? 8. That's 8. So 16. That's 36, which is, I guess, pretty standard. 36 skeletons, which you can obviously do in spears or archers, and then 20 Tomb Guard plus a Necrosphinx. Outside of whatever's happening with these monstrous mounts, that's bloody good value. Much better box than the old one. So I think this is, really good buy. You put this with some of those new character models like the Leech Priest, release, and you've got the beginnings of a pretty good, army. And then obviously there's the dragon if you want to buy that one as well. So you can, I think this is going to, it sort of hides the fact that some of the skeletons are shit too. So, like even though those skeletons are crap, I can do, you can get away with 30 something of them because these Tomb Guard models are some of the best still out there, I think. They look a bit daunting to paint, but they're really not once you get in there with contrast paints, which is cool. And you can see it more on the back there. Probably sure, obviously they've got the showing that you can build the Necrosphinx and all the other juicy goodness in the box. Now, what I'm getting at is this a sign of things to come? Are they removing the big battalion boxes with the rule books, getting rid of them by the end of the year? Maybe this is a Christmas special. Who knows? Couple of months or whatever, we might or even more sooner than that, we might see the same thing with the Bretonians. And that means they've got rid of version 1 rulebook out of the boxes and opening the way for a version 2 of the old world. Now, That's a big call. I don't think it's actually that close, but geez, it'd be awesome if they dropped a 2.0 earlier than later and then got it into that window between iOS and 40K releases, because 40K will be out middle of next year, iOS the year after that. Is that right? Something like that. And like, Old World is squeezed in between those two, whereas I feel like, geez, you get Old World and Heresy in the same release year and then offset it with iOS and then 40K. I think that's a really good, I think, with all my knowledge of nothing, it feels like it's a good release cycle. So, but they would have to do something unprecedented, and that's unprecedented, if that's the word, release a version 2 of a fairly mainstream game. As we know, it's one of the big four within 2 years of its release. I know the scope changed, probably asking a little bit too much, but at least doing this, it does take that book out of the equation, makes it a lot cheaper to set, keep these in store, and gets it ready for a version 2 where you can actually just change the rules and keep all the model boxes the same. So that's sort of, I guess, a prediction or a hope. I don't think it's happening just yet, realistically. But I think this is definitely on the way to not only, it kills a few birds with one stone here. So yeah, exciting times. I can't wait to get my hands on this Arcane Journal and particularly these cool new models. Not sure I'll need that battalion box yet, but it depends how good these war sphinxes are, because I turned mine both into necrosphinxes. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, leave your comments, please. Let me know what you think. What are you excited about with the War Settra's Fury? But also, what do you think it means with these battalion boxes coming out? And what do you think the Monstrous sort of mount options coming for Khemri are? Love to hear your thoughts. If you've got any leaks or any other inside info, leave them in the comments below. Like, subscribe, jump on our live podcast on a Monday, and I guess we'll see you until the next video. See you next time. Cheers.